So Twitter's being different. All right. The definition of a holistic view is that all aspects of people's needs, psychological, physical, and social, should be taken into account and seen as a whole. Holistic relationships is leading the charge and sparking real conversations that transcend the ordinary, aiming not only to explore life's intricate facets, but also to inspire positive change and cultivate better approaches to every topic we touch. In the realm of love and relationships, marriage and divorce, parenting struggles and single parenting triumphs, toxic relationships, and the liberating journey out of codependence, our goal is crystal clear. We are architects of change, crafting blueprints for better, more holistic relationships that stand the test of time. This isn't just a show or podcast. It is a movement. Each show is an invitation to recalibrate one's perspective, to rethink conventional norms, and to embark on a journey towards a more fulfilling life. From the nuanced dance of co-parenting to the empowering pursuit of self-confidence, we are here to guide you towards positive transformation, empowerment of self and others, setting goals, building legacies, and collecting fortune with purpose. Holistic relationships is more than a show, it's a philosophy. We navigate the complex terrain of aging gracefully and achieving optimal health and weight loss, shedding light on compatibility in relationships and imparting wisdom on the art of dating and courtship. Join us as we forge a community committed to positive change, where every conversation is a catalyst for growth, every revelation is a step towards understanding, and every piece of advice is a key to unlocking a more holistic and fulfilling life. Welcome to Holistic Relationships, where the pursuit of better, more meaningful connections begin, and positive change is not just encouraged, but celebrated.
You hear me?
Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to another Holistic Relationships. We have a special topic this hour. It is going to be sort of a reunion episode for the Black Coffee Political Alliance's Wake Up Hour. We used to do a Wake Up Hour every Tuesday between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. with our mentor, the late and great Dr. Laverne Murphy. And I have with me today Mr. Ro Davis, who's joining me for this Wake Up Hour. And we are in quite the political season. And we're going to talk about something today, our new nominee. Now, of course, we know we have to wait until the DNC, which is hosted in Chicago in August. So we do know that that is coming. But we are getting a lot of support for presidential candidate Kamala Harris, current Vice President Kamala Harris. And we just want to talk on some points, especially when it comes to the Black community. So this crossover show, again, is Holistic Relationships with Black Coffee Political Alliance's Wake Up Hour. The topics when we're talking about politics, again, we're in a political season, a very heightened political season, and we want to make sure that we at least address this. Yeah, so the thing that I believe that's going to be different this time around when it comes to another woman running for president, well, there's a few different things here. There's TikTok, And the fact that we have experienced number 45 already, whereas before when people wanted to give number 45 a try, they didn't really know who he would be or how he would be as a politician. And there wasn't a lot of, even though there was some popularity between Hillary Clinton, it wasn't enough really to get her over the edge. So this time we're going to be really interested in finding out what's going to happen with the public. How are they going to turn out in November? It's more than just endorsing Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris online, endorsing her through posts, saying what you're going to do. Number one, you got to make sure that you're registered to vote and that you can actually go up to the ballot box and cast your ballot. So it really is about getting there and doing it. So what I wanted to do today was to get some perspectives here. And I'm going to show a few perspectives here. I'm going to have Mr. Rowe. These are some videos for some of the young people. See, it's the millennials and Gen Z that I'm really looking at here. We already know the baby boomers, they're pretty used to going out to elections and they're used to being there, showing up. Gen X, even to some extent. But the younger people, the younger crowd, we really have to take that mantle seriously and show up the way that our family members have before. So what are some of the things that are being said here? So I have a quick 2-minute video, and certainly Mr. Davis, well, what do you want me to call you? What should people call you so that...
Call me Rowe.
Call you Rowe? Okay. Well, is Minister Rowe too? Is that too much of a stretch?
No. Unfortunately, but fortunately not.
Okay. So I'm going to definitely put inside of the chat as well ways when I go to our different platforms and pages, so that information for people to find out about you. So I'm going to give a few minutes for you to introduce yourself and tell people who you are, how you I'm going to let you go on and speak for now.
All right. Well, first of all, I definitely want to give it back to you, Shantae, or Dr. Shantae. But you've been Shantae and been such a good friend. It's hard for me not to say Shantae. But as she said, my name is Rowe Davis. I'm the visionary and co-founder of an organization called BOP Project 5000. Before I go any further, I need to let you know, I've been talking all day. I've been running hard. I'm a little exhausted, but I wanted to fire up so I could talk about some of the things that I think we need to understand. This is the wake-up hour. So let me start with me, and let me get up and put this whole thing in gear. I was instrumental in helping to launch the movement that Dr. Shantae just mentioned, where we both were mentored by Dr. Murphy, the late, great, and great. We're not being facetious. He was definitely great. And so there's some things that I think that as Black people and people of color that we definitely need to consider. I'm going to touch on those things when we start talking, but that's good enough.
Absolutely. And I wanted people to know that Black Coffee Political Alliance is the political arm of the New Life Movement Ministries, and you are the visionary and co-founder of this ministry. So can you tell people briefly, 2 sentences, what is that about? Because I'm going to be blasting that everywhere, all over social media. So I would love for people to hear from the visionary himself. Although Dr. Murphy, the late Dr. Murphy, was the longest standing president of the organization, you are the founder and visionary of it.
Yeah, so the New Life Movement, which is now characterized as a ministry, is just through what we operate, but it's a strategic, comprehensive vision to mobilize our communities for economic, political, and educational change. And we're using home ownership and small business development as the cornerstones of that process. And so if you understand politics as we do, and really much of the world does, you understand that politics is a concentrated expression of economics. And so when you don't control your business community, it's difficult to control your politicians. So the movement has some very aggressive economic objectives, and Black Coffee Political Alliance and the Wake Up Hour is our political arm that we are exercising the mobilization of our vision through. So hopefully that adds a little bit more clarity.
It does. It does. And we'll have plenty of opportunities to speak more about it. I'm actually going to play a throwback clip of Dr. Murphy. It's like 2 minutes explaining what is Black Coffee Political Alliance so that our viewers know who they can reference who we're speaking about. So I'm going to share this screen and you can find this on YouTube. I'm going to share this. Everything, add to the stage. Here we go. Everybody, you can see this, right?
I can see it.
Okay, wonderful.
Hi, good evening. Glad to have you with us again. You know, I've been asked a question many times, and I wanted to take an opportunity to respond to it. And that question is, how did you come up with the name Black Coffee? All of that means. We came up with that name for a couple of good reasons. One, with respect to our political status now, we needed to organize ourselves clearly around Black interests. And that is the one interest within the political culture that's never addressed. There seems to be some confusion within our marketplace, and some people are troubled by the word Black. Well, I want to make everybody comfortable today because we're the only group that I've ever encountered is uncomfortable with a name that reflects them. I have never heard a white person express any discomfort with referring to them as white. But it seems that within our culture, we have a problem with our own reality. So we wanted to take the name Black Coffee Political Alliance and make sure that people understand that we're organizing our political capital around issues that are relevant to Black people. We have a specific interest in this political culture, and Black Coffee Political Alliance is organized to represent that interest. That is our sole interest, to look at what we need to do in order to advance our interests, but not only advance it, but to be clear on what our interests are. And so for those of you who believe that we should be in a position to advance our own interests, then I would welcome you to come and join Black Coffee Political Alliance, because we are in the midst now of organizing solely and purely around our interests. Thank you.
I have to always remember to unmute myself. And that is from our late and great mentor, Dr. Laverne Murphy. We have many videos from him from Black Coffee Political Alliance page. Oh, hold on a second here. A little bit of an echo. I think that's coming from your mic, but I'll in a second. Okay. 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 All right. So what we're doing now is we're talking about Vice President Kamala Harris as the candidate now for president in this upcoming election. And I want to take it to TikTok. Some of the things I've seen on TikTok, because I believe it is the young electorate that is going to make the difference here. So here is
I see a clip that's going viral where Amanda Seales is talking about her lack of support for Vice President Kamala Harris. And be clear, I don't care if she supports her or not. She's entitled to do that. She's entitled to her opinion. However, I have to push back on any notion that Vice President Kamala Harris erases or marginalizes systemic racism, especially as vice president, when there is ample evidence to the contrary. So I'm just going to lay out where Amanda makes points about things that need to be addressed and where Vice President Kamala Harris stands on that.
We have shooters that are going into places and killing people because of their race. And then we're not calling it domestic terrorism.
What we know from the intelligence community, one of the greatest threats to our national security is domestic terrorism manifested by white supremacists.
We have an entire culture of police that are killing Black people and getting away with it because the law says they can.
I was, as a senator, as a United States Senator, a co-author of the original George Floyd Justice and Policing Act.
And as Vice President of the United States, we demand that Congress pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Joe Biden will sign it. And we should not delay, and we will not be denied. It is non-negotiable.
We have a country that was 1,000% built on the foundation of racism that now legislators are trying to pretend didn't happen and are getting that through and doing it on an education level.
Black history is American history. Living history, breathing history, history that we create every day, and history that we then must teach and celebrate. A history that helps us to understand how the past has influenced the present and potentially our future. And let us all be clear, we will not as a nation build a better future for America by trying to erase America's past.
And on a DEI level, you cannot, as the second in line to the highest form of office in this country, make a message on hope.
And so these are issues that we must confront, and it does not help to heal our country, to unify us as a people, to ignore the realities of that.
So, what have we learned? If you care about what the vice president has to say about certain issues, maybe you should start paying attention to her when she speaks instead of taking a headline and running with it. But more on this Saturday, my show.
So I only wanted to bring that clip up. And this is to segue into the conversation that we're going to have today, Ro, about, especially in our community, how we're coming for our own candidates, the things that are being said about Kamala Harris. And so we want to start to confront some of those myths. You know, with her being a person, who's Black and something else. So she's being attacked on that end. She's being attacked on the end of being a woman. Successful. She's being attacked on the end of being married to someone white. You know, so what do you have to say about that? Because there's a lot of interest in what some of the Black men are saying. You have those that are against her, and then you have a lot of those that are in support of her. So I would like to hear from someone like you that is part of Gen X. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, my thoughts are that, you know, I've been around the block a few times. I'm 54 years old. And what I've learned is that, you know, Black people are fickle. It's just some Black people. If everybody's excited about going to the left, it's always a group of Black people that is talking about the people that's going to the left, and they gonna go to the right. And so I think it's just the nature of our community. We are not monolithic people. Therefore, we're entitled to an opinion. I often find myself wondering what the basis of that opinion is. And it's hard not to feel that that opinion comes from a deep level of internal criticism made manifest and projected on us. We're more critical when we see the Black person in positions of power. While other races do all kinds of things, we may say something, but you don't ever see us drilling down to the level of criticism. And so Trump and just some of the things that he said, he's done, it seems like the more he presses with things that seem to be, at least from my understanding, when I look at our community and I see some of the things that we need, like I believe we still need affirmative action. We still need set-asides to even the playing field. That's if we're ever to move beyond being a permanent underclass. But you see a person like Trump and the Project 2025, and you see all these plans to destroy that. And it seems that we will vote not necessarily in our best interest as long as we get to undermine somebody that's black. Now, I understand the conversation that the Democrats have not given us the respect that we deserve in terms of how we show up and show out every election. We're voting blindly Democratic. So I can intellectualize that as an issue. However, just because I understand it doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do in this election. There are things that are going to affect us directly that I think Kamala is an advocate for, that I think that is worth our consideration. They need to take their own advice, in my opinion, and move beyond the party and listen to the message in terms of what's being said on both sides. Finally, I think that there's this thing that somehow Kamala is a sellout because she has married a white man. Well, I have a personal experience.
So what? Before you get into that, because there's something I do want you to share with that. I'm gonna give you a little break because I know you said you're a little hoarse. But what I want to do now is I want you to see this other 1 minute clip talking about her life as a prosecutor, because that's the other part of the community, how they're criticizing her for the job that she had, because apparently she put so many black people into
victim of misinformation in our community. Kamala Harris, for years, I've been told, hey, she put thousands of black men in jail unjustly for marijuana charges. And I was like, dang, that's crazy. So for years, I didn't like her because of that. Then last night, because I was bored, I sat down and I said, well, how many thousands? 10, 20, 30,000 dudes? So from 2004 to 2010, Kamala Harris was the district attorney for San Francisco. And in that time, she had several convictions for marijuana charges. Her total amount was 1,956 people. And you might say to yourself, that's not thousands. I know, because even less actually went to jail. The number was 45. So for years, we've been told, hey, she's locking up black men left and right unjustly for weed charges, when in fact, not really. Now, I will say, in 2010, when the bill came up for them to legalize weed, she sat on the sidelines. 2016, she did the same. She didn't come forward and speak publicly about it until 2018. So just to give you a little fact checking, Kamala Harris isn't responsible for locking up thousands of black men for weed. I don't even know where that came from. And I tell you right now, honestly, it came from the internet. Somebody told me, I heard it, I didn't do any research, and I just ran with it. And that's my fault. So hopefully you learn something and you don't do the same. Let's go, Kamala.
So that's one of
Kamala Harris.
This is
Hey,
another
in fact,
black.
she black. Howard University, Alpha Chapter, AKA. It's enough to get my attention, but ain't enough to get my vote. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. You better check her record. And I did that, and I found out some things. She dope. Yo, Kamala Harris is almost exactly what you expect from a prosecutor with the credentials I just mentioned. First off, you didn't even qualify to talk about her unless you heard about Back on Track. That's like trying to discuss Jay-Z without hearing Reasonable Doubt. Back on Track was a restorative justice program for 18 to 24-year-old, first-time, non-violent, low-level drug offenders. Instead of jail or a charge on the record, folk got sent to boot camp where they got job readiness training, parental training, earned a GED, got connected with employers for careers, got their credit fixed. That's a pretty good deal. I'm finna go sell an ounce right now. Okay. But for real, once people graduate that program, she threw their charges out like it never happened. As DA of San Francisco, she made social services help parents of chronically and habitually truant kids. Twitter told y'all she was threatening with jail. Cap.
The most important issue for me really is that we get these kids into school. The goal is not to prosecute parents, it's to get these children to go to school. We are not talking about hooky and playing hooky, and frankly, we all did, okay?
Nah, they were missing 40 to 80 days. That ain't hooky, that's hiatus. And nobody went to jail. I checked. Sister got them kids back in school and kept them out of incarceration and the grave. She also created reentry initiatives so people in jail could get out and not go back. Convicted over 1,200 domestic abusers. Prosecuted child molesters, rapists, and violent criminals. Transnational gangs. Got $20 billion back for Cali from the big banks after the foreclosure crisis. Created a civil rights division in the San Francisco DA's office. When she first got in, she threw the charges out for the activists and the protesters who got arrested. Shawty a hero. Senator, no disrespect. Not to mention incarceration rates for marijuana charges fell each year she was AG. So much for that theory about her believing in mass incarceration. But Kamala Harris, I'm excited. I'm excited about her plans for gun reform and the HBCU agenda. I'm excited about women's equal pay and the return of consent decrees. I'm excited about black home ownership and a black woman on the Supreme Court. I'm excited about black business is booming, and the D9 Step Show the day before her inauguration. Y'all know they having a step show. And I'm gonna be there too with an $8 fish plate and some mambo sauce. At the end of the day, she the strongest and most prepared and exactly what America need right now. And I look forward to seeing her stroll into the White House in 2021. That's an AKA joke. I hope she don't make her cabinet members probate though. Nah, seriously, 4 to 8 years, the D9 jokes are gonna be hilarious. I still ain't been the same since somebody said she gonna put AKA tags on the back of Air Force One.
I just came from a trip at DC and I just learned what was mambo sauce. That is like mild sauce up here. I just learned that.
Oh, okay.
And then, so when he said mambo sauce and you laughed, I was like, oh, did he know that that's like mild sauce too?
Oh, I
learned that. I just learned that this past weekend what mambo sauce was when I was in DC. So to that point, I just want to show some clips of what some guys were saying, what men were saying. They are a little on the younger end, but does any of that resonate with you? From her being that prosecutor.
Oh, okay.
The criticism she's faced when she was, yeah.
So what it sounds like is that those people who are criticizing her, even if the numbers were in the thousands, are criticizing her for doing her job. I mean, like, I you know, as long as I've been on this planet, and I'm not saying that the police are just, I have never, and this certainly doesn't speak to everybody, but, you know, typically when you end up before the judge, you got arrested. And it's typically not the judge or the prosecutor that does the arresting. They are simply there to deal with the issue as it stands. But I don't know, and we know black people, some black people are committing crimes. And even if it was marijuana, she was enforcing the law. So it makes me wonder when we say our gal or our guy is in office, does that mean that we want to let all the black people be set free for breaking the law? I mean, what are we looking for, the hookup? Are we angry that she didn't give us the hookup? But from what it sounds like, she did give, was sensitive to our plight. And listen, I'm not a Democrat, nor am I a Republican. I want to remain neutral. It's just so hard to remain neutral in the face of 2025, Project 20. Like, if you black and you can remain neutral in the face of some of that shit, then I don't know. Then we should question not if Kamala is black, but are you black? Shit.
Wow. I know. How are you upset at the prosecutor for prosecuting? You know, that's exactly what their job is to do. But I would also add to that too, that you also have to think about when it comes to the justice system or the criminal justice system, that to prosecute, that means evidence, enough evidence was brought before you for you to go ahead and prosecute, which now makes me go, okay, people, instead of looking at the prosecutor for prosecuting, let's look at the police and the people who brought the evidence to her to be able to do so.
And don't forget about the people who was actually caught selling weed, the ones that was actually doing the illegal acts. And it's hard for me to believe that as much weed as I smoke and I see other black people smoke, that we wasn't smoking way before it was legal. It's part of the reason why it is legal. But her job is not to circumvent the law, even if the law is a bad one or disproportionately affects people of color. Her job at her level is to exercise the law or to uphold the law through the system. And it's unfortunate that that put her at variance with black people. Only thing I would say is that we might not try to get caught. Maybe that might be it.
Well, it's legal now. Well, it's not, I don't know.
But I'm just saying, maybe she could.
Hold on, we lost your mic. Maybe he's driving in
for
a.
doing her job.
There
to
we go.
say that she was wrong for doing her job, and then I think that that's evidence that she's going to do her job, even if you know it's going to affect her own people.
Right.
So, but when you look at Trump, you see a lot of the things that Trump has said about his past, and talked about his work history. Much of it is fraudulent. So in fact, he on record for committing fraud. She's on record for upholding the system of justice and doing her job so good that people actually went to jail.
But not only that, they used to actually they gave her this nickname that she was soft on crime because she had that rehabilitation system embedded. And so she said, no, I am smart on crime. She had enough compassion.
Was brilliant. Yes.
Yes. She had enough compassion for people, because you know what it is, by the time that they get out, the system gets them. There's nothing, like it's locked up. It's like, man, how are you supposed to get a job? How are you supposed to every application? And that's why I was saying too, if they're going to allow a felon who's been convicted of 34 felonies still run for president, then why do we have, are you a convicted felon still on job applications?
Yeah.
Why have that then? That's what I'm thinking. So I did want to now segue over to the next part, because see, we didn't have this necessarily with Obama, but then people were bashing Obama too. But he did have a Black spouse. So now on the side of what the community is saying because of her Caucasian husband, what are your thoughts on that? I like for people to, as a Black man, definitely hearing what your thoughts is on that.
Well, no Black man wants to see a Black woman, our prized asset, with any race. So it's going to be met with criticism on his face. And if I were not so intimately experienced, if you will, with this issue, I have a sister who is very successful, or was very successful. She had a very high position in government. She either had a master's or a PhD in engineering. She dated two brothers. I'm not making judgment here. Now, I want you guys to understand that I love my sister and I just want to see her happy. I don't care who she with. But her first marriage was to a brother, and because she has always been so advanced in her career, she's always outperformed the men that she dated. Well, naturally, that created a problem. And so her first husband was abusive. The second husband wasn't physically abusive, but he was mentally abusive. And he was a major in the military. My sister's position she was in was a position where she was appointed by Congress to that job. She wasn't as high as Condoleezza Rice, but she was right up there, And so men that she dated found it difficult in her own color. And then eventually she married a white guy who also worked for her, but the white guy actually turned out to be, I was very resistant in the beginning, but he turned out to be a really good guy. And she really found true love and a partner for life. And for me, I didn't care what color he was. I thought my sister was the bomb.com, and I simply wanted her to be happy. So the fact that at that level that Kamala may see and find white men attractive, I'm sure she still finds Black men attractive. But if that is the person who best identifies with her and she's in love and it makes her a better leader, then I'm all for it. I think that we need to get out of the politics of worrying about her relationship and get deeper into the politics that affect our relationship with America.
Wow, that was very nice. Wow, personal story. And I was actually caught in there. I forgot we were on a show there. Um, yeah, I'm like, wow, that's and I guess even when I was in pharmacy school, as you climb up that pool, to select
The
from,
daily food chips, yes.
yes, it gets a little shallow. Um, and difficult to find. So you do have to have an open mind so that you can, yeah, find love. Yeah. Especially if you're not doing it within your race, or you will have someone that's maybe at a lower level. I don't want to say at a lower level because that's not
Yeah.
what I mean, but not at the level that you are maybe
It's
performing
very
at.
difficult to find, listen, and that's not just a challenge for a Black woman. Any woman of power is going to find it difficult to, in my opinion, I'm making this up, but I've heard that the women who accomplish so much find themselves struggling trying to find love because on some levels, you know, to be successful sometimes can develop the masculine qualities in a woman, and it may make it difficult because the guys who are successful aren't always looking for women who are their career equals. So that's something that lives beyond race. That's just a nature. That's just a natural inclination. For most men. I think about Shaq. Shaq got all the money in the world, all the power. He's an A-list celebrity, but he was trying to date the girl at Home Depot. That wasn't an accident. He wasn't looking for a Kamala Harris. He was willing to take the girl at Wendy's. So that doesn't speak to color. That speaks to just the nature of men and women and the dynamic between us. So the fact that somebody with the power to argue and to think and to move at her level was able to find a sustainable relationship, albeit not in our community, but a sustainable one, nevertheless, speaks volumes to her negotiation, communication, and her ability to be versatile enough to find love, not just find it, but to stay in it. So it's really an asset when you get beyond the color. It speaks volumes to her compassion, her sensitivity. So I don't care. In short, I think it's silly as hell for us to worry about that. We got an opportunity to help a Black woman, right, wrong, or indifferent, who really got a shot to be president, not vice president. And we looking for
Already
reasons.
vice president. and,
Right.
and it's already
And
vice
we
president.
Right, and we looking for reasons why it's wrong. Now that's sicker than the fact that she with the white man, that we can look at a Black woman when all of us came from one, and we see one that's assimilated. I mean, that's moved to the highest levels of power. And instead of seeing what's right with her, we're looking for what's wrong. That's
Wow.
wronger than what you condemning, in my opinion. Shit.
Yeah, well, that is what a lot of us are, doing. When I see the versatility and the different type of posts that are out there. Of course, you're not gonna, some people are gonna love you, some people are gonna hate you. You're never gonna have everyone, but it is still mind-boggling a little bit when it comes to Black people. Like, why do you hate other Black people? that represent you well. Could you imagine with Trump?
At the very least, you just said something right there. I don't mean to interrupt, but I don't know. Look, most of us don't have the political savvy to know when something's good for us or when something's bad. We're simply moving where the media is. We had all these white people in positions of power, and it ain't necessary work to give us Black power. Then we get some Black people. First step was even getting into position. Over time, You know, this is not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
Obama opened the door, and at the very least, the man didn't embarrass us. He did what every president does. And I would argue, without even understanding the politics, he made me proud every time he stood up. And when I see Kamala and how she carries herself, her ability, that woman's going to make Black people proud when you get behind your doubts and fears, not of her, but the idea of wondering whether or not we are good enough to hold that position.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
1 second.
What that is, Mr. Rose, always on the move, always moving around, very busy. When he comes back, in our last few minutes, I do want to speak a little bit more over the ministry that he has. As you know, again, Black Coffee Political Alliance is the political ministry of the New Life Movement Ministries, but he is over one of the very important pillars of the New Life Movement Ministries, which is economic development and real estate. And so he's over BOP Project 5000. And that is what I would like for him to speak about. And I know that he has some programs and he has some things, because it's not just about getting organized. It is also about what do we need as a community to get ourselves going. So I definitely want him to speak a little bit about BOP Project 5000 and some of the initiatives and things that he has going on right now for you all. Definitely, you'll be able to drop in the comments in any of the platforms that we're on if you're interested in any of the initiatives or any of the programs or opportunities that he has going. Are you ready for us again, Ro? Almost. Well, in the meanwhile, I am going to bring up our Facebook page, because I know he's heavy on Facebook. Facebook.com. And I definitely wanted to give a moment to, okay, hold on here. I definitely wanted to give a moment to speak about this. Now, while we're organizing for people to join our voting block. And it's because of these things that we're trying to get. It is not just about just joining the voting block for the sake of just joining on the voting block. Okay, we have them back here. All right, you ready for us, Ro? I want people to learn a little bit more about BOP Project 5000 and anything that you got going on with people real time today that can get them involved.
Well, I am, and I want to thank you for that opportunity. I am now officially an author. I've created a real estate course that I call Flip That Hood. And the name of my new book is Fix, Flip, Own, the Cheat Code to Buying, Selling, and Owning Real Estate in the Hood. So I am very excited because I have taken a major step in creating an economic blueprint that allows for community regentrification. Many of us do not understand the power of politics and its relationship to economics. So what we in the New Life Movement, BOP Project 5000 have done is to create a voting block that gives us the leverage, because if we're going to move forward economically, we're going to need the political power to move in front of us, to give us the leverage to achieve our goals. And so because politics is at its core driven by economics and the ability to move resources in our interests, it's important that we support Black Coffee, the voting block, and we're able to come on forums like this and deal with the politics of the politics so that we don't blow an opportunity to move our agenda forward.
All right. And we definitely want to talk to the viewers about indigenous politics. Do you have anything you want to add, to the viewers about indigenous politics? Something brief, because we can definitely come back in another hour to speak more on it, but just to plant that seed for people when it comes to indigenous indigenous politics.
Well, one of the things that our mentor always stressed, I can hear his voice now, is that it's great that we are being rallied and mobilized for these federal and national elections. But the real power for us to make the difference is in indigenous politics, the politics that happen within our community. That's going to be and is absolutely critical if we're going to take the block. So we'll talk more about that, but we need to focus on the aldermanic elections, who's the mayor is, but even greater than who the mayor is, who's controlling the resources in the communities that we live, and we will ultimately do business once we get beyond our pain. Many of us do not see the power and the opportunity in our communities because our vision is filtered through our pain. And that is causing us a lot of issues. So we'll talk more about that later.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you, and before we head on out, do you have any advice, for the millennials and Gen Z as it relates to this upcoming election, something to leave them with for this broadcast?
Absolutely. You need to support the New Life Movement, our voting bloc. At this particular point, the majority, when you look at Republicans and Democrats, they're usually evenly divided. Trump is not after all Black people. He just needs a slither of the Black vote to tip the election. He knew the few Black folks who are going to shift to his side. And so all of these tactics, all of these things are to that end. And the same thing with the Democrats. They got to hold and get other parts of the independent voters to remain on their side in order to get elected. When we position ourselves, it took me this long, I was this old before I realized the power of politics. I wasn't engaged either. And it's so complicated. You don't know what to trust. So what you could trust is the voting bloc, and understand that even if you don't know what your interest is, you need to lock arms with people who are interested in where your interests lie.
Right. And just to add to that, certainly if you're a Black or brown in America, I mean, we have very similar interests. We want life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We want to not be gunned down in the streets. We want our voices to be heard. We want our 40 acres and a mule. We want our reparations. We want the same things here. So it only makes sense to me for us to lock arms together on the voting bloc. Definitely find us at Black Political Alliance on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. We're at Black Coffee Bop. I'll be sure to, that's the hashtag. Also, I'll be sure to drop that in the comments so that everyone, or in the description for everybody to find us. And I do appreciate this time today. We're going to end or close this with some more words from Dr. Murphy. Our late and great Dr. Murphy. I mean, in this political season, it's just, I really wish that I, could just talk to him one more time, just one more conversation with him for this political season to see what he thinks. But what was really interesting with Dr. Murphy is that he always looked for what you thought. He might have an opinion, but he definitely wanted to know what you thought. And so we're going to just close this on out with some final words from Dr. Murphy. I am just, again, sharing this from our Facebook page. Okay, let me put it on here. I thought I hit the right button. Sorry. So we're going to do the Black Coffee. We're going to share. And I'm going to.
All right, Dr. Shante, go ahead and handle it.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
He's always going to move people. So you want, when he comes back to talk about real estate, you want to be sure to hit up Ro Davis. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. All right, so we're going to just have, I'm going to add, again, I am on our Facebook page here, and these are just some of the videos here. So we're going to go with this one.
Hi, good evening. I'm Dr. Laverne Murphy. I'm the chairman of Black Coffee Political Alliance. And there's a particular point I want to make tonight that is very, very important. In 1965, Malcolm X, who had written about the ballot or the bullet, and this was in pursuit of our right to be able to express our views in public elections. And we got to a point where it looked like the Congress was going to pass the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And after it was passed, Malcolm made this statement. He said, now that it looks like we are going to have the power of the ballot, the next step is to get educated as to how to use it. Unfortunately, those prophetic statements obviously was not heard, because from 1965 to now, 53 years later, our people have never been educated as to how to use the ballot. So this is a critical aspect of Black Coffee Political Alliance work, is to begin the process of educating our electorate. And so right here at our headquarters, we will be launching a series of political education classes. Most of you who are out there listening, probably in your entire K through 12 education, never heard a word about the ballot or how to use it. And this is one of the tricks that's been played on our people. The powers that be is not interested in us having knowledge of the political process. They would rather you remain ignorant, because as long as you remain ignorant, none of this seems to have any value. And I want to tell you tonight, it is perhaps one of the most valuable assets that we could develop, and that is knowledge of the political process. So right here, we're going to make it our business to have these classes so that we can provide the basic instructions and then give you an opportunity to bring your questions and have them answered. And once they are answered, then I don't think you will ever deny the value and the power of the ballot and why we must use it, and stop being disadvantaged and wondering why we never get nothing. Because the ballot is what allows any group to get what it wants, because your ballot is your voice in how public resources are allocated. If you don't speak up, there's nothing to allocate for you. And we're going to speak up as Black Coffee, and we need you to come forward, because we have a lot of discussion among ourselves to have, so that we're all clear on what we're doing and the critical importance of doing it. Thank you for listening.
Wow. These are the type of things that he instilled and poured into me. We have so much to share with everybody. So again, we are looking for people to join the voting bloc. Black Coffee Political Alliance. We do not claim to be Democratic or Republican. We are pro our interests. We are here for the people. And what we want to do is be able to educate and provide information that we need so that we can remain knowledgeable on the things that are happening in the political process. It's very difficult for people sometimes, and I know this was something for me as well, how to equate your vote to your ability to put food on the table. I didn't understand that connection at first. And it wasn't until I started being affected in my own life that I was able to see how politics actually showed up. And so that is what brought me right on into politics, just as what Ro was saying as well. Like we stayed away from it in our own rights, of course, but it always, all roads seem to come back here. And we want young people, we want my fellow millennials, and then of course, Gen Z getting engaged in this and learning about it. And definitely check out my other video about political literacy. And then you can get a few breadcrumbs from there, some pointers from there, and how you get started with this. Don't get sucked up into the whole thing about the personalities. It always should be about the policies. It should be about the topics. It should be about your rights as citizens. That is what you should be focused on. Not who you like, not what it looks like. It should be what the interests are. And so that is what Black Coffee Political Alliance would like to do. And that is just for the interest, certainly of all people, but particularly the group that has the most disparity and has been overlooked the most, which is the African-American community. And so with that, I'm going to wrap up today's topic, which is more of a sort of a reunion. We were one person down. However, it was really nice to have, at least part of the gang back to have these political conversations again, timely because we're in a political season. And so we'll come back next week with holistic relationships, probably with a different topic. Nonetheless, I do try to be current with things. I also want to remind everybody about my book that is out, The Type 4 Experience. It's available on Amazon as an ebook and also as a paperback. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for my next piece, which is Mommy Hurts. Make sure that you're signing up for the mailing list so that you know when these different opportunities or the different things that we have here. I'm going to bring Ro back to talk about real estate for people who want to be able to get into that. I myself would like to get more into it, not just residential real estate, but also commercial. So he's kind of in both. A wealth of knowledge and information. So we're going to do another special holistic relationships show on that so that we can begin to educate not just about politics, but about business. I'll definitely let you guys know when my Starting Your Business Essentials, a course that I've created for people, for young entrepreneurs, so that, hey, you get to learn from my fails as being a president and CEO for the last 5 years for NCNM University. So that is something that I have done real time that I had to learn a lot from. And so what I did was to create a course naturally as an educator, but to create the course, and it will have a corresponding book, of course, coming with it. Now that the other book is out, it's easier to do now. So I thank you again for joining us for Holistic Relationships. We're going to change it up a little bit sometimes with the different relationship topics. But this, of course, is our relationship to politics, right? So this is okay to sometimes have the wake up hour. And I invite other people to be a part of the conversations, because that is the whole thing with holistic relationships, to have better perspectives, to come out better than when we first came in. So until next time, next Wednesday, same time, I'll see you again at the next Holistic Relationships. And until next time.